what is a decorator supposed to do when you have a need for a one-off shape for one project? You can special order it, pay rush shipping or whatever else, and just add it to your ever-growing pile of cookie cutters. But if you have a Cricut cutting system from Icing Images, you can make your own custom one-off designs just like this. This is something that I pulled together in just a few minutes.
Ooh.
You can also do things like this. And that chain, I used a silicone mold for that. So I'm combining a couple of different techniques. And you can also make really incredibly thin sugar pieces that have a surprising amount of detail for something as malleable as a sugar paste. So let's talk about that. So again, my name is Stacey. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm the owner of Stacey's Custom Cakes. And what I do is custom one-off work. And that's how I developed a relationship that I did with Icing Images, in that I use a lot of custom things in what I do. So my work processes are different from how a lot of people tend to do their standard work. So what I want to talk about first is don't take notes. If taking notes helps you focus, go for it. But you don't have to take any notes, because on my website, staceyscustomcakes.com/teaching, I have a brand new teaching site that I just launched today that has all the downloadable resources that I'm going to talk about today, and for all the other classes that I've been teaching with Icing Images. So first thing we want to do, as always, coffee. And then the second thing we want to do is mise en place. So let's take a look at what we want to use tonight.
I need to ask the question here.
Go for it.
And I want to say something as well. Marlene asked, can you use the fondant cutting kit with the Silhouette Studio? And we actually have a different fondant blade, and I will look and see what we have for the Silhouette and post that as well. But we use a special modified blade, and all the other products are available as well. I just don't know that it's in a kit on for the Silhouette.
Yes.
On the plate.
Actually, if you look behind me on my table, I have both the Cricut and the Silhouette, both from Icing Images, just to show that, yes, you can do everything I'm going to talk about tonight using the Silhouette Cameo. The only difference is the type of blade that you get in the kit. The kit will come with a modified deep cut blade that works specifically with the Cameo for cutting fondant and other sugar pastes.
I have a question for everybody. Does everybody see me? Because I don't on Facebook, and Lori's telling me she sees me on Facebook, but I don't see me on Facebook. I don't know if she's looking, if she's behind us or something. Am I the only one hearing him twice? Okay, hold up 1 second.
Uh-oh.
That's good. It's good on Sharita's side. Okay. Nobody sees me, so that's a Lori issue. I'm sorry that you can't see me. I'm so beautiful. Okay. All right. So they don't see me, and we're all good. Stop laughing at me. Okay. I can see the live. Okay. All right. She's all good now. All right. She's all good. Sorry about that. And then I do want to clarify something. You call all fondant sugar paste.
That is correct.
Just remember that, and so that, yeah, you know what I was going to say.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's actually one of the comments I was going to make next is, when I'm talking about fondant and whatnot, I'm going to use the term sugar paste, because everything I'm talking about tonight will work with fondant. It will work with gum paste or flour paste. It will work with modified pastes, like what Nicholas Lodge used to teach us how to do. And it will also work with modeling chocolate. You have to experiment a little bit to get the right consistency, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So for the rest of this, just imagine anytime I say sugar paste, I'm talking about any one of those malleable sugar-based products. But word of warning, this will not work with isomalt. It would end up damaging the machine because isomalt sets so hard. But any of the other malleable sugar paste, this will work. So let's talk about mise en place. What do we need? what we need is the fondant cutting kit from Icing Images, and it comes as a kit. It includes these 2 leveling guides that will roll the fondant or the other sugar paste to the correct thickness. It comes with a food-safe cutting mat, and it also comes with a deep cut blade that is suitable for either a Cricut system or a Silhouette Cameo system. So that's why you have to be very careful that you order the correct one so you get the correct pieces. You also need a rolling pin, and for this, you want a rolling pin that does not have a taper to it. So this is not a good time to use your French style rolling pin. A PVC or a hard, dense plastic is preferred, but you can also use a wooden rolling pin as well. Just make sure that it has no nicks or scrapes or cuts, because that will just put a texture into your sugar paste. A craft knife, a flexible spatula, and in this case, I'm using this one here. It doesn't have to be metal, but I prefer the metal ones for this because they're very, very flexible. A dusting brush of some sort, a dental pick or a vinyl picking tool, some solid vegetable fat, and for this, you'd want to use shortening or Trex or something like that. A spray oil or a liquid oil will not work for this process. Some cornstarch, and a sugar paste. And in tonight's demonstration, I'm going to be using Velvet Smart Flex from the Sweet Chalet shop in Sanborn, Florida. And what I love about this product is it's delicious. In fact, in my last order, I purposely did not order the almond flavor because I would just sit there and eat it. And whenever I was checking all the items off the order, I saw a packet of almond in there, and I messaged Marissa and I said, why is there a packet of almond? And all she did was laugh at me. And yes, I have been eating it ever since.
That's hilarious. Hey, what was I going to say? Just so I want to make everybody aware of this, Icing Images is not selling the Smart Flex at this point, just because we don't sell fondant. But we would, but we totally support them, and I put the link on there for that. However, if you look at the text that's scrolling below, you can actually get a free sample pack by ordering anything from Icing Images, and all the details are scrolling below.
Yep.
Go, boy.
And the other couple items we need for our mise en place is a brush or something suitable for spreading the vegetable fat on your work surface. Me personally, I tend to use a scrap of paper towel. And then always my 2 favorite helpers in the kitchen, a dry and a damp kitchen towel. These are always on my workbench when I'm working. So let's go ahead and prepare our food safe mat and such. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And the first thing we want to do to prepare it is we want to treat it with Tylose. Now, when you get the fondant cutting kit from Icing Images, it will come with a set of instructions that say for different brands of paste, how you need to condition it to make it ready. Since Smart Flex is a new product to the market, I will tell you that it is not on the list yet, but the formula that I have found that works really, really well is for every 100 grams, for every 100 grams of Smart Flex, you want to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of Tylose or CMC powder, depending on what it is in your market. Now, this is a piece of Smart Flex that I conditioned earlier. All I did was I colored it, let it rest for 1 hour. That way the color would work its way through the paste. And then I added the Tylose powder to it, worked it through the paste a second time, and then let it rest for about 15 to 20 minutes. You could get away with 10, but if you let it sit 15 to 20 minutes, the Tylose or CMC will work its magic, and it will put it in the correct consistency to do the work. So you can see that I just took a few seconds to condition the paste, the warmth of my hands, and the action of flexing the paste will condition it for you. There's no need to add vegetable shortening to it. but you don't want to overwork it. If you overwork it, that can cause the fats that are inside the sugar paste to break down and become loose, and that can make it spread. That can cause issues with it not adhering to the food safe mat correctly, and it can also cause it to spring back. So if you've ever covered a cake in fondant or modeling chocolate, when you cut around the edges, if you cut too close, it might creep up the side of the cake. The same idea and the same principle applies here. So don't overwork the paste. So now that the paste is ready, I'm going to prepare my mat. So I'm going to take some vegetable shortening here. And it's not a tremendous amount. You can see I don't have a whole lot on my paper towel here. And all I'm trying to do is just put a thin layer down like this. Just going to wipe it all over the place. And then I'm going to go back a second time and put in small swirls. And the swirls will help adhere the paste onto the mat. So that's all there is to it. So now I'm done with that. I take my conditioned paste, roll it into a ball, squish it down into a puck, slap it down in the middle, and then I will take the fondant guides and my pin and just start pressing down. Pressing down will help stick it to the mat, and then I will roll it out. Now, since pretty much everyone on these lives is already a decorator, I'm not going to waste your time watching me roll it out. So just like a TV kitchen, I have one that I made before that I will demonstrate with. And here it is. So I put a piece of plastic wrap over it just to protect it. But what I did in between rolling it out and getting to this stage is I took my cornstarch and I just applied a light layer on top of it. And then I let it sit in the air for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now, 5 to 10 minutes is the magic number that works, one, in North Florida in summer with SmartFlex. Depending on your climate, depending on the product you're using, you may need to use 2 applications of cornstarch, maybe 3 applications of cornstarch, or maybe none at all. In some areas, and Debbie can talk about this more if anyone has questions about it, but in some climates, customers have had really good luck with placing this in the freezer for about 10 minutes. That way it gets a nice crust on it. So you don't want it to be a crust like an elephant skin. You want it to be just a very light crispiness to it. And then once I was done with applying that, I just took a clean paper towel and just wiped off all the excess vegetable shortening that was around the sides. Now, one word of warning. These gray areas right here on the side, it says in bold print, do not put fondant, gum paste, modeling chocolate in this area. Now, it was put there in big bold letters so we would ignore it. So that's why I'm mentioning it right now, that you want to keep this gray area free of any paste and free of any vegetable shortening, because anything in these areas could get caught inside the machine and cause damage. So that's about as easy as it gets. So I'm going to put this back off to the side. And if Lori would be as so kind to switch to my desktop view, we're going to create.
See if she can.
Oh,
Because she's using her controls.
If she can't, things are about to get real interesting.
I know. Okay, give her a second. There we go.
Hey, there it is. All right.
Yes.
The technology is with us. All right. So let me get things ready for the next step here. And apparently it's my turn to have computer issues because one of my cameras just died.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, if you guys have any questions, why don't you go ahead and ask them right now while he's just setting up and he might be ready to go.
All right. We are ready to go. All right. So what I have done is launch Cricut Design Space, and that's it. So I'm going to take you through from beginning to end on what to do. So we're going to create a new project. So we hit new project right there.
Now, Cricut Design Space, that is the program that is available when you have your Cricut for free on Cricut's website.
Yep. So on Cricut Design Space, everything you need to start your design is on the left side right here. So just to show you some examples of what works really, really well, I'm going to go to Shapes. And you have all these basic shapes right here that work. And you can do a lot of things with basic geometry. And you can also scroll down to the bottom and search for more. So what I'm going to do is change my operation type to cut only, because we're only cutting. And then two searches that work really well is label and tag. Because what we're doing in the sense of like what Cricut would normally do is creating labels and tags. Now, this right here is maybe an okay design to use because it only has two sharp points at the end. So think of that as like a heart shape. And if you remember the heart shape that I showed you earlier, it does have a sharp point at the bottom. The only thing you want to be careful about with any design that has sharp points is because sugar paste is malleable, it might round it off more than come to a point. But I will show you how to fix that in the end after we cut. Designs like this are not ideal because there's a lot of detail in it. But a design like this might cut something interesting because you have these shapes right here. And whenever you take it off the mat, you could rework that shape if it gets warped a little bit. And a shape like this is very similar to what I used to create this piece earlier. So those are just some examples of what you can find under label. If you search for tag, you can find a lot of cool stuff. Let's see, I found one on here earlier that I really, really liked. And it's not showing up now. So let me...
Because you're live.
It's always because you're live. Let's see, where is it? If you see a flower, yell, because that's what hey, there it is. We found it. So I'm going to select this, and then you can see it shows up down here in the preview. So if I wanted to add multiple things, I can select them like that, and I can deselect them by clicking them down here. So once I have the design I want, I hit Add to Canvas, and kersplat. There it is, just like that. Now, what is wrong with this design? Why might this not make a good cookie topper or a cake topper? It's that hole right here and that hole right there. So what do we do about that? Over here, there's a tool called Contour. And in the terms of computer-driven cutting, a contour is anything that the knife blade will follow. So if you look at this, imagine where it's going to cut. It will cut around the edge, it will cut around the center, and it will cut around this. So that would be 3 contours. So if we go to the contour tool, what do we get?
Is this new?
This is new as of a few months ago. I want to say 6 months to a year ago is when they added this tool.
Okay, I haven't seen it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is one of the tools when they added it. I came to the conclusion that I really could use Cricut to do an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And now if you look at this, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3 contours. So what I want to do is turn off the ones I don't want to cut. So I don't want to cut that one. And now it's gone. And I don't want to cut that one. So I highlight it here. And if I oopsie, I can hit show all contours or hide all contours and bring up what I want. And if you move this off to the side, and it's not going to let me, so never mind. But you can see in the result, it got rid of those shapes that I don't want to cut. So that's awesome. But let's do something custom. Since the name of my business is custom, let's do something custom. So I'm going to take a rectangle, just a plain rectangle. And it doesn't matter where you put it on the canvas. You can put it anywhere you want. You can have multiple designs going on at once if you want. And now I'm going to add a circle. That's a very big circle. I want it smaller, so I'm going to make it 3/10 of an inch. Now it's a tiny circle. And I'm going to take that circle and put it right here. I'm now going to hit Command or Control D, and that duplicates it. D for duplicate. And I'm going to put another circle right there. I'm going to duplicate it again and make it bigger. Let's say 1/2 inch this time.
So Stacey, can't you change the color on each one of those that you're doing so that people can see it?
I absolutely can. Is that too dark on the screen?
Wherever you put it on there, I can't see it. I know they're there because I can see on the right side that, you know, they're up there, but this is a little trick too that will help you as well.
Yep. When you're layering a design, what you can do is highlight one piece. In this case, I'm going to select the square because it's the biggest piece. And I'm going to change the color of it to yellow. That way you can see what I'm doing.
Ta-da!
And now I'm going to duplicate that circle one more time, and I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. Let's say 0.6. And I'm going to stick it over here, just like that. And that's my design. Now that's kind of a goofy looking design. So I'm going to select all these shapes by clicking and dragging, or you could hit Command or Control A, and that will select everything. Then I'm going to come down here to the Combine tool. And the Combine tool has a bunch of different options here on how to add and subtract different basic geometric shapes together. I'm going to do Subtract. And it gave me this square with the circles cut out of it. And it was all something I did in, what, 2-3 minutes. And now I have a cute shape. So now that I have my shape ready, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to cut it. So to cut it, you click Make It. So now what you get is a preview of your mat. So this mat right here is a 12-inch by 12-inch mat. If you use metric, you have the metric system over here. And if you change in the program preferences that you live in a metric country, it will flip this around so you can see the numbers at the top and the left like I do with inches. So the next thing I'm going to do is take a look at my prepared mat, and I'm going to see where is my paste on this mat. My paste, and let's see. I'm going to flip this around here. So my paste is roughly 4 inches down and about 5 inches from the side. So I'm going to come down 4 inches, and I'm going to come across about 5 inches. And
so Stacey, one quick question, actually a couple comments. So you currently have the fondant on the Icing Images Cricut Food Safe Mat, or Food Safe Mat for the Cricut.
That is correct.
And so it doesn't appear on the screen the same way because obviously my mats are aftermarket mats. But they all have the measurements on there, and that's how he's able to tell exactly where that is. And another comment, so have you cut circles that tiny in this fondant?
I have.
Whoa. Okay. This is awesome because I haven't been able to ever, oops, sorry. My son's coming in. I'm muting. Bye.
Lori, can you put my camera back on screen for a second? And let's talk about the paste. Uh-oh. There we go. All right. So because, like what Debbie was saying a second ago before the dog got crazy, is the mat looks a little bit different in Cricut Design Space. And that's because in Cricut Design Space, they don't account for this gray zone here on the sides where you're not supposed to put your sugar paste or anything else. And also, because we're cutting a rather abnormally shaped piece of material here, it doesn't know how to account for that. So what I did first, and let's see here, that might be a little bit It'll have to work. Let's see. Can we see that? Yeah, we can more or less see that on the screen. So actually, this is a better idea. Here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm looking, where's my paste in relationship to the numbers on the side? So if I follow the grid across, I can see that I'm at 4. I'm at 10. So on Cricut Design Space, I want to make sure that I move my shape to somewhere between 4 and 10. Now, on the top axis, I'm somewhere between 5 and 8. So I want to keep my design somewhere between the 5 and the 8 on the top axis, and on the left axis, somewhere between the 4 and the 10. So can we go back to the desktop screen again? Maybe. There we go. All right. So you can see over here, I moved it to roughly 6 inches in the middle and about 4 or 5 inches here. So this is cutting it, pun intended, this is cutting it a little bit close to the 4-inch line. So I'm going to move it down some. And remember, one of the beautiful parts about working with sugar paste is if you don't like the way it cuts, roll it up again, recondition it with your hands, and then you can put it back down on the mat and give it another go. So what I'm going to do next is peel off this plastic film so it's ready to cut. And before I cut, I'm going to take my dusting brush and any of that residual cornstarch, I'm just going to brush it off. That way it doesn't create a dusty environment inside my Cricut machine. So once this is ready, I'm going to hit continue. And on my particular Cricut, I use the custom setting for everything. So I have a custom setting, whoops. I have a custom setting in here for SmartFlex Fondant, and inside the fondant cutting kit from Icing Images, in that instruction guide, it will give you all the settings that you need to cut various types of fondant, gum paste, and whatnot, depending on what brand it is. So I'm going to select SmartFlex Fondant. Pressure, I leave it at default. Sometimes the software doesn't like it whenever you click backwards, so I'm going to let it reconnect to the machine.
So now not the cheat sheet, the guide that I guess comes with the mat right now does not have SmartFlex on it because it's so new. Mm-hmm. Are you going to share with us the settings that you use, your custom settings?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, cool. That would be great.
To set a custom setting, you go to Browse All Materials, and then Material Settings. And then down here at the bottom, you have the option to add a new material. So in this case, I'm going to look for SmartFlex. And the settings that I have found that work really well for me is a pressure setting of 173. Do not use double cutting. Don't ever use double cutting on sugar paste because that will, well, actually, no, let me take that back. Experiment with it. You might get some interesting results with it. And then always use the deep point blade. If you're a Cricut user, you want to set this to the deep blade as well. And then once you have that set up, it will appear in your list of custom materials here. And there we go. And then it will tell you, step 1 is set your material. Step 2 is load your tools and material. No tool is necessary in clamp A. Load the deep point blade in clamp B, and then load the mat. So let me grab the blade. So here are the two blades that you're going to be working with. This one here is the default blade. In Cricut speak, it's called the fine point blade, and that's because that's a very fine point and not much of the blade is exposed. For what we're doing, we want the deep cut blade. You can tell it's a deep cut blade because it comes in a black anodized housing. And if you hold the two side by side, might be a little hard to see, but if you catch the shadow just right, you can tell that the deep point blade is a broader knife point, and also it's a deeper knife point. And that's where the deep cut part comes from. So what I'm going to do is switch over to my view at the Cricut. All right. So can we switch to that view, please? Can we switch up? There we go. Awesome. Yeah. Sorry for how slow everything's working tonight. We've had an interesting day. So what I'm going to do is take the deep point blade, place it inside clamp B, and then close the clamp. And now it's ready to go. I take my mat, put the mat inside the machine, and then the next thing you do is just follow the buttons. So the first button that's blinking is your load. So you hit load. And then the next thing you want to look at are the star wheels. Whenever you first get a Cricut, they normally live somewhere in the middle, around here. And if you put the star wheels in the middle, they will leave track marks inside the paste. So make sure those are pushed the whole way to the side. And it does take a little bit of coaxing to push them over. But once you get it moving, it will just slide right over. So now that these are ready, the next button blinking is the cut button. So I'm going to hit cut. And now it will cut the paste. Now I rolled out this paste maybe an hour ago. So hopefully it will cut the way we want it to. Now, once it's done cutting, I hit unload and take it out and bring it back to my work surface. Now, the next thing is I'm going to take out the blade. And if I switch the camera back over here, I'm going to show you something interesting. So take a look at the blade. You can see it picked up an ever so slight amount of sugar paste on it. And this is something you want to check before and after every cut. The way you clear this out without cutting yourself is you take your Always Faithful damp kitchen towel. On the back of the blade, there's a button. If you push the button, it will make the blade push upward. And then you just take your kitchen towel and lightly wipe it off. Take that little piece, throw it away. And then what I like to do is the second time I'll push the blade up and I will look around the blade to see if there's any residual sugar paste left. If there is, I just lightly brush it off. And then I take the dry kitchen towel and wipe it off. And if you notice what I'm doing with my hands in that motion is I'm going from the bottom of the blade to the end of the blade, from the bottom of the blade to the end, because think of a knife. The action end is over here. So if I was going from top to bottom, it would likely cut whatever I'm using to wipe the blade off with, and it will also dull the blade, both of which you don't want to do. So now that the blade's been cleaned, I'm going to set it down in a safe place so I don't cut myself with it. And now we have our paste that's ready. So the first thing you want to do is weed it, just like if you're working with vinyl. And what I'm going to do is take my dental pick tool and just lightly pick around this and just pull it out. That's one way to weed it. I'll show you another way. One of the advantages of doing it this way is once you're done, you can take your pick and lightly, very lightly, just run it around the interior of that contour to clean up any rough edges. And then I'm going to weed the part of the paste that we don't need. And you can see it's a little stiff because I rolled it out so long ago. So normally you would not have this kind of trouble with it. When I'm doing this in the studio for real, this really just peels up without any trouble at all. So I'm just working my nail underneath it to pick at it and lift it up. And just like that. So now I'm ready to peel this off the mat, but the first thing I want to do is take my finger and very lightly run it around the edges just to capture any rough marks that were left by the blade. So I have a little piece that's hanging on right there, so I'm just going to use my dental pick to brush it off. And I like the way that looks now. It's all very, very easy. Now I take my flexible spatula and I'm going to take it and push it down into the mat. So the tip touches and now I push down into it. And you can see in the reflection of the light how it's bending down. And then I just very lightly saw around it. Now, don't saw the whole way through it because that can squish the paste as you go from one end to the other. So what I like to do is work from a corner, and then I work from a corner, and I work from a corner, and then I go back and start over. And you can see that the paste is not deforming and not warping as I do this. And each time I move my blade around, it's going a little bit deeper. Now, if the blade of my spatula starts getting a little bit of gum paste or sugar paste or whatever you're working with on it, take the damp towel, give it a wipe on both sides, take the dry towel, a wipe on both sides, and then get back at it again. And just like that, we have our shape. The other way you can weed it that I was talking about earlier is once you cut it, you can just lightly hold it in your hand and knock the shape out. And there's no right way, there's no wrong way. It depends on what way works best for you and the way you want to. So now you have your piece. And for an example, if you remember that flower we looked at before, this is a flower that I cut maybe 15 minutes before the live started. So it's been sitting out in the air for about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. And because SmartFlex has a little bit of a modeling paste consistency to it, the edges will dry very, very nicely. And I can come along here and knock off any of the rough edges with just the edge of my finger. And if I let this dry even longer, like I did with these pieces, I can actually take clay working tools like scrapers, rasps, things like that, and I can edge this. And this piece was dried. I just put it in my dehydrator at 115 degrees Fahrenheit for about maybe 90 minutes or so, 30 to 90 minutes. And I could just do whatever I want. So if you want to do something really cool, you could carve designs onto this. And that's a great opportunity to experiment with your Giotto pen.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, we have a couple questions, okay? Jesse wanted to know, is it adhering to the mat more because you did it early and covered it for the demo?
Yes, that is why it's adhering to the mat more. So if I show you the back of it, you can see a little bit of scrape marks here from where I had to work it. Normally, when I'm just going from, my normal work process is I prepare the mat, I roll the paste out, I set it off to prepare the paste, put the cornstarch on it, set it to the side in open air, and I start a timer on my watch for 10 minutes. And then I go into Cricut Design Space, set up my design, whatever I want, get a hit of caffeine. And after that 10 minutes, I'm immediately ready to go cut. And as soon as I cut, it's ready to peel right off. And it's nowhere near as difficult to pull it up like it was tonight. But that was one of the reasons why I did it the way I did tonight. So you could see what it would be in a worst case scenario. And you can see it's only the back side that has any effect to it whatsoever. The front side is perfectly fine. And you can see that even in the few minutes that this has been out, the edges are starting to get crisp, and I can go through and round off those edges if I need to. Or in the case of this, it looks nice with the rougher edges. So I would, for this design, I would leave it the way it is.
Gotcha. All right. I want to just reiterate a couple points, and then we have another question. So one of the reasons he's having this success is this amazing fondant.
Yes.
It is really good fondant, and not all brands work that well. Very few do. I think there's one brand that worked right out of the box. I don't believe you can get it anymore. Other ones can be a little bit hard to work with. And also the humidity level, dryness level, all those, just like anything else that you use to decorate, can affect the success of this. So you may have to adjust your Tylos a little bit. You may not even need anything to add to it.
Yep.
So you're going to have to play around to see what works best for you. And then I was going to say the other question is from Debbie Gord. How much success have you found cutting more intricate shapes that would not be ideal to hand cut, such as fonts, etc.?
Fonts, unfortunately, are not a winning solution because the fine details, especially if it's a font that has a serif on it, which are those caps at the end of letters, that detail is so fine that the blade either gets hung up in it and it tears it off, or the blade will push it around and you don't get the effect you want to. When I need fonts that are cut, I tend to use a Smart Sheet because the Smart Sheet is a much more stable product, and it's designed to act like a paper or a canvas. So that would work much better compared to a fondant or some other type of sugar paste.
Gotcha. Okay. You're going to like what we're going to introduce at CookieCon. While I was watching you, I'm like, oh, this will work nice. And I didn't even think about that because it's that new.
Yeah. I'm excited. The first time I heard about it was in the email this afternoon.
Oh, yeah. And what else was I going to say? I don't remember what that was. So, but yeah, a lot of the success of this is due to the actual new fondant that you can get from the Sweet Chalet. And then remember, scrolling across the bottom is the, sorry. Hey, Lori, look at the first part of that sentence. You copied my name. Okay, sorry, I just saw it. I messaged the word text to her, so she copied the whole thing, including my name. Sorry, little giggles. But yeah, it's scrolling below, and that's if any order with Icing Images. Doesn't matter what it is. If you put SmartFlex in the comments, you will get a free sample while supplies last. But I know these wonderful people at Sweet Chalet, if we really run out, they'll get us more. Which is awesome. So,
they love running out.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. It's a great problem.
Now, also on the SmartFlex, a couple things I want to add to that is the default flavor is vanilla. And it's a very warm bouquet style of vanilla. It puts me in mind almost of like a wedding cake kind of flavor, and it's a really, really good flavor. It also comes in almond. And almond is the most dangerous flavor because I will eat it because it tastes just like an amaretto soft fondant candy. Ooh. It's absolutely delicious.
Ooh. I haven't tried the almond.
There's also a flour paste, and the flour paste is out of this world. I have been using the flour paste to make different flours.
What's a flour paste? Is it a gum paste or no?
Yeah.
Okay. But they don't like to call it a gum paste either. They call it something else, and I'm sure they're going to answer in a second. So we'll see what it is because it's not really. No, it's the chocolate that they call something else.
Yeah, the chocolate is something else. That I have not experimented with, but the flour paste is amazing. This is a rose cone I made a couple of days ago, and it is extremely hard. And I made a cake over the weekend that had a spray of roses on it, and people kept commenting that they thought these were real. They didn't realize it was sugar. So,
Wow.
yeah, the flour paste is awesome. The velvet, which is the fondant, is awesome. And there's also a modeling paste, which is, it's similar to another brand that I can't think of the name of, but it is a lot like flour paste or gum paste, but it sets harder and much more quickly. And once the modeling paste version of SmartFlex is fully set, you can actually carve it or whittle it, depending on what you want to do with your design.
So for you blue owners, imagine making like printing on this, like, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. That's the gum paste or flour paste.
This is a combination of the flour paste and the modeling paste. I wanted something that would work really well with the mold that I was using.
Wow.
So I did this in, I think it was about a 70-30 mix. It was 70% flour paste and 30% modeling paste. And it's kind of hard to see, but it's also colored up here compared to the rest of the body. And then in the areas where I wanted other details, once it was fully set, I went in with a set of picks, a craft knife, and some other things, and I was able to cut in the details that I wanted where I wanted them.
Okay. Hey, Marissa, what is the difference with your modeling chocolate or whatever you call it something different, but you told me that you don't like to call it modeling chocolate, and there was a reason why. It was a good reason. And I think it had to do with the greasiness or something like that. I don't know. But Marissa also just stated you can combine all of them to create the mixture you need for any project, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
All right. So she'll answer me on that in a minute over on the notes side. But all this whole line of products is, okay, it's called modeling paste, which is what he called it. Okay. But there was a reason. And I think it wasn't as greasy as other modeling chocolates. I think that's what it is. But my brain can be funky sometimes. So, she'll post it in just a second. All right. Any other questions, guys? Because we have to talk about something new. Yeah, it's the gold bag. The gold bag. It is the gold bag. It's the gold bag. Give me a second. I'm gonna let her answer, and I need to go get the. Let's see, where is it? Oh, stop it! I'm trying to get the link for you guys. Who out there has an edible printer? Like not the blue. Sorry, I'm trying to get the actual. Come on, bear with me. Boo, boo, boo. There it is. Oh, something new. Kelly, you don't need it though. So, power. Kelly has a blue. Hold on, I'm just trying to get the good link for you. There it is, so that you can go directly to the product because it. Unfortunately, wasn't listed right, so it's a little harder to find. You used to have an edible printer, but now you don't. Tina, yours is clogged, but you just ordered the blue too. All right. Yeah, something new. Marissa never answered our question, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with the oil consistency of other modeling chocolates that this one doesn't have. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to all right. So I need to tell you this, guys. For those of you who have ever talked to Dana on the phone, she is the one who actually developed this. She got ticked off one time at a Printhead. Said, hey, nothing can hurt this Printhead now. So she started experimenting. And when she did, she basically came up with this new technique and product. And so it really is. It's done some miracles. I'm going to let Stacey talk about it, but first Marissa did answer. And it also has cocoa butter to give you the flexibility of modeling paste, perfect consistency, not as greasy as regular modeling chocolate. It dries fantastic. You have to say it with her accent, though. I can hear her saying it. Not brittle chocolate. One is dry. One day, one I'm not quite sure. Anyways, you guys can read. You can kind of read that on the side. So it's a chocolate paste. All right. She'll be responding there. And you can always contact Marissa directly, and she would be glad to help you at thesweetchalet.com. All right. Drum roll. Talk.
Power Max Printhead Cleaner. There, you can tell your husband I said it right. The Power Max Printhead Cleaner. I was given an education on how to properly pronounce this earlier tonight, so I'm very proud that I got it right. What the heck is this? So if you remember the other Printhead Cleaner kit, it came with a syringe and some tubes that always fell off, a bottle of solution, some instructions, and all that other stuff. Well, let me show you what comes in this new kit. It comes with gloves, so you don't end up with rainbow hands. It comes with the little blue gasket pot. It comes with a pair of tweezers, so you can get the gaskets off your printhead. It comes with the printer version of a denture case. And this bottle of pink stuff. Now, what is this bottle of pink stuff? This bottle of pink stuff is the new Power Max Printhead Cleaner solution. This is the brainchild of Dana, and I will tell you this stuff. Okay, it takes a lot for me to be wowed by something the first time I use it. And I got this in the mail. I'm sorry, I got this from a FedEx delivery on a Sunday. And Debbie said, you've got to try this. You've got to try this before Tuesday. And I was like, okay. So I used it. And let me tell you what I did. I took my cartridges out, put them in their clips, took the print head out, took the gaskets off, rinsed the gaskets under water for a few seconds, put them in the little blue pot, put enough solution in there just to cover them up, gave it a shake, sat it to the side, took my print head out, and just under hot tap water, nothing boiling, nothing fancy, just whatever hot tap water came out of the sink, like I did on my other demonstration on how to clean your print head. And I just ran it underneath that water for about 10 minutes, going back and forth, getting it inside the sponges at the top of the print head, flip the print head upside down, make sure I get the jets at the bottom where the ink comes out of for 10 minutes, put it inside the denture case, and then I dumped the rest of this bottle of solution into the denture case.
It's not a denture case.
I was wondering how many times I'd say that before I got in trouble.
It's blue. It's pretty.
It's a blue case.
Yes.
Put it inside the case, snapped it shut, sat it on the countertop, and I ignored it for 1 hour. Went around, did other work, other stuff I need to get done. Came back, opened it up, took the print head out, run it under water for just a few seconds, hot water again, just to rinse off any residual amount. Took a dry kitchen towel and very gently dabbed around the print head to get all the excess water off. And then I sat it down on its end, standing upright, for about 20 minutes to air dry. Took it, put it back in the printer, put the cartridges back in, and the print head is now printing as if it was brand new out of the box. You could not tell that there was any mileage on this print head at all. I was blown away with the difference of it. I don't have the print head check sheet here, but it blew me away compared to before and after. Now, here's the part that's really exciting. You take the solution that was left over in this case, and you take the funnel and you dump it back into the bottle, cap the bottle off, and save the solution. The only solution that you will waste while using this printhead cleaner is whatever little bit evaporates while you're working with it, and if you happen to spill any of it, and whatever residual amount is left over inside the case whenever you're done. The gasket pot, I just tightened the lid on it, sat it down, and it's ready to go for mixing. I've only used about this much of the solution so far. And is there an official number on how many times you can clean a printhead with this kit?
Oh, how much? The cleaning solution you only want to use about 3 times.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
about it. And you can buy some more after that. But it really cleans it so well. It's not something you have to do over and over and over again.
Yep. And it also comes with amazing instructions that are incredibly easy to follow. It has pictures that take you through each step by step, and it's broken into 3 sections. What you do first, then what you do, then what you do. And it has a couple of tips on the bottom on what to do with it. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago. So I took it and I stuck it in one of my sheet protectors, and I added it to my binder that is full of all kinds of how-tos and other instructions from things that I've gathered over the years. And the downloadable resources for my website, you can add them to a binder like this, so you always have those tips and tricks when you need them.